And welcome to this edition of Crossing the Spotlight. I'm your host, Brother Dan Goodwin, and with me today is my co-host, Dr. Hilteville. I'll introduce him in just a second. We're going to talk about an exciting topic. We're going to talk about globalism, the global financial system, not the one that's coming, the one that's kind of here.
Yes.
Right now. Well, let's bring Doc in, Brother Hilteville, my good friend, my co-host here. And I want you, you got your Bible open there. Would you read that passage for us from Revelation?
Yeah. This is the middle of the tribulation period, chapter 13. And it's talking about the Antichrist, and it says in verse 16, He causeth all, both small and great, rich and poor, free and bond, to receive a mark in their right hand or in their foreheads, and that no man might buy or sell, save he that had the mark, or the name of the beast, or the number of his name. Here is wisdom. Let him that hath understanding count the number of the beast, for it is the number of a man, and his number is 666.
Now explain to the listeners a little bit about what this means. I got cash in my pocket. I'm sure you got some money in your pocket.
Yes.
There has to be a different system for this to work, right?
Yes. Well, it'd have to be a system that's global. Right now, there's systems already set up where our money is transferred electronically. They have a system to be able to balance out what it's worth in pounds or in yen or whatever it is. But this is talking about something that's much more simplified than that.
And it has to be cashless, right? I mean, if I can use cash, then there's nobody that could stop me from doing commerce, right? If I can use
pretty
cash.
Obvious. I believe it's going to require some kind of technology in order for this to be a governing factor for the world.
I mean, they can turn our credit card off instantaneous,
Yes.
right? If I go to use my credit card and the powers that be determined that...
I had to get 5 bank cards last year because of my traveling. And they would get red-balled or black-balled or whatever they call it, and I'd have to go to the bank and get a new one because somebody could hack into that, and so they changed. So, yeah.
So a system that no man can buy or sell except he has this mark has to be some sort of a cashless, digital, internet type of a system.
That's true.
And which leads us to the article that we want to talk about today. I got 2 articles here. The first one is from June 25th, just recently, and it's by Fox Business, a guy named Justin Haskins. I don't know who he is, but he writes for Fox Business.
Right.
Very interesting story. This just come out recently. The title is Al Gore, UN Secretary General, and others now demanding great reset of global capitalism. This is unbelievable. I thought I was reading a sci-fi movie here, or I thought I was reading something out of the tribulation period. This just happened somewhere in the month of June. The globalist elites all got together, and that's what this article is about. And I want to read for you, the audience. I want to read a little bit of this, and we're gonna have Doc pipe in here from time to time. Let me just read a little bit of this for the folks out there. What I want them to see here is how close we are to the end-time global system.
We're at the edge of it. Yes, sir.
I mean, they're not even hiding this stuff anymore.
We're out in the wide open.
Let me read a bit about this here. The economic, social, and political chaos caused by COVID-19, that keeps coming up.
Yes.
So because of COVID-19, we have got to have a reset. That's what they're saying in the article.
Sure.
Which is more proof that this whole COVID thing is being used by globalist elites to bring about something.
It's the plan.
It's the plan. And you have a DVD about that. Rex will maybe put that up for us. But we did a program with you on that. That DVD, those DVDs are excellent, by the way. And so let me read this. The economic, social, and political chaos caused by COVID-19 outbreak and Black Lives Matter protests have for months captured the attention of virtually every American.
Yes.
And for good reason, the author says. These are incredibly important issues worthy of significant and thoughtful debate. But then he says this, while Americans have been preoccupied with protests and pandemics, a potentially bigger story has managed to slip between the radar.
Yep.
A growing movement among the world's most powerful leaders to call for a, get this now, calling for a reset of the entire global economy. That's right out of this world meeting that they had with the UN Secretary General Guterres, or whatever, however you say his name, Al Gore, and others. There's several names that I'll read here in the article, but let me read a little further here. At a meeting hosted by the highly influential World Economic Forum.
Oh, yeah.
You've heard of that. The World Economic Forum. This was just weeks ago, in June. Earlier in June, powerful officials and nonprofits, government business people, academia, labor unions, and activist groups announced their plan for a great reset of global capitalism. Now, I'm going to stop right there for a second. Why did they mention capital? Most of the world's not capitalistic.
It requires those of us that are capitalistic to finance this for all the rest of them.
So this isn't a global reset. This is a capitalism reset of distributing capitalist wealth to other places of the world or other people.
It's kind of like I saw a movie title here a while back said the great train robbery. I think this is the great national robbery.
In fact, really, it's mostly the great American capitalist.
Yeah, it's not a great reset. It's a great robbery.
All right, now he goes on. It's a proposal that they acknowledged has only been made possible because, now this is amazing. This has come up only because of the opportunity provided by the economic destruction caused by the coronavirus.
Yeah. Opportunity was the key word there.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
So, because of the coronavirus, the world elites have gotten together and have decided we've got to do something to save the planet.
Well, they're going to take every opportunity. They're not going to waste an opportunity.
Now, supporters and attendees of the meeting included Prince Charles. We've heard of him before.
Yeah.
I think he's been on that airplane to the island, right? Antonio Guterres. Am I saying his name right?
I don't know.
The Secretary General, Antonio Guterres. I don't know how to say his name, but the Secretary General of the United Nations. Ajay Benga, CEO of MasterCard. MasterCard was at the meeting. Bernard Looney, is that a play on his name there? Looney, CEO of BP. That's oil, right?
Yep.
Gina Gopinath, chief economist of the International Monetary Fund, the IMF. And among many others. So these are just some of the world elites there.
Those are all out of the Rothschild bunch out of England. So go ahead.
These are movers and shakers of the world.
Absolutely.
Listen to this. The purpose of the Great Reset isn't just to enact policies that lead to wealth redistribution. I can't even say it. But rather, or also, to completely overhaul the world's existing structures and institutions.
Oh, yeah.
In an article published by the World Economic Forum's website, Klaus Schwab, that's a name people should know, founder and executive chairman of the WEF, wrote of the Great Reset. And here's what he said. Every country from the United States to China must participate. Not should, but must. Must participate in every industry from oil and gas to tech must be transformed. In short, we need a great reset of capitalism again. Capitalism. Well, that's just a few countries of the world they're talking about.
Mercy.
Now, what do they mean by this reset? They don't really go into detail because that's behind the scenes stuff. What do they mean a reset? Are they going to cancel all debt? Is everybody going to turn in their money? Or are we all going to be part owners of each other's wealth? What do you think it means?
Well, we've thought for years that, I can remember years ago in prophecy that everybody was worried about a coin that had come out, and they said this has got to be the coinage of the world. And I said from the beginning, no, it's not. It's going to be a technological thing. It's got to be something that can electronically be governed. And I'm telling you, these are things that will lead you into the first few days of the tribulation period, a one world order.
Yes, because we know in Revelation 6, verses 1 through 3 there, the man of sin, the Antichrist, comes on a white horse just like Jesus came on a white horse, because he's the great counterfeiter. And he's going to be crowned, and he's going to become the world leader. And
it says he's given a crown, so he didn't take it by battle. He's been given
He has a bow with no arrows.
No arrows. He's got the authority. I think I think it goes back to chapter 8 of the book of Daniel when it says he'll cause craft to prosper. I think the Antichrist is going to be credited with the ability to pull this off.
Folks, I have a book here that I wrote, one of the last books I wrote, The Seven Clocks A-Ticking. 7 clocks ticking towards Christ's soon return. There's a chapter in here. One of the 7 clocks is, in fact, Daniel's ticking clock. The book of Daniel, if you know your books of the Bible, you'll know that in Daniel chapter 2 and chapter 7 talk about the world empires. From Babylon, and then the Medes and the Persians, and then Greece, and then Rome, and then there's going to be what we believe is the revived Roman Empire that's going to be the Antichrist kingdom. I talk about all that. I talk about the one world financial system, the one world religious system. So if you want to know more about this globalism thing and what we're reading that's taking place right now in the world, there's a lot of good meat right here in this book. You can go to the website if you'd like to take a look at that, prophecyinthespotlight.com. Doc, look what he says here. This WEF meeting featured a powerful lineup of global leaders, all of whom seemingly agreed on something.
They all agree.
Now, did they check with you about your bank account and your stocks and and your house and the things you've acquired and worked hard for all your life?
They're not.
Did you get a vote on this reset?
You won't get a vote on it.
My goodness, look, and he says they all agree on the necessity to rebalance economies.
Sure.
To promote fairness. Now, fairness according to who? Is it fair to take what somebody earned and worked for and give it to somebody who didn't work? What's fair about that?
Hey, our system's been doing that for a long time, so it won't be hard to move that on.
Yep, the welfare system
yes.
is basically way out of hand, way out of control, and that's what that has done. But they want to promote fairness and create greater equity within societies and among nations. Now,
Well, social justice that you hear about all the time, even among Christians, this social justice thing, it's just preparing the mindset of everybody for what you just talked about there. The social justice, getting it fair, make it fair for everybody.
Yeah, equity. The purpose of the Great Reset isn't merely to enact policies that would lead to additional wealth redistribution, but rather to completely overhaul the world's existing structures and institutions.
Well,
Now,
sure.
by institutions, do they mean like Congress or?
Oh, they probably do, but they've already got a hold of the institutions of higher learning. You can see that walking in the streets now. Yeah, that's the effects from it. So, yeah, they've already got a lot of this accomplished.
Among other things, Schwab said, the Great Reset, the world must act jointly and swiftly to revamp all aspects of our societies and economies.
All aspects.
Yeah. I think
Wow.
I think church and Christianity's got to be in here somewhere
Well, I
because it
think-
doesn't fit their mold.
I'm thinking maybe some of that's already taking place as well.
Yeah, from education to social contracts and working conditions. How exactly are these leaders planning on convincing Americans and citizens of every other industrialized nation to abandon capitalism? And he says by scaring people.
Sure.
And that's what this COVID thing's
That's
done.
exactly what it's all about.
And he goes on to say, scaring people into believing that these changes are essential for stopping the next great crisis that's coming.
Yeah.
The world will face when the pandemic finally subsides. And then he writes climate change. He says that's next after this. I didn't know it went away, but I guess they're...
Yeah. Well, there'll always be some horse they can get on.
So all the World Economic Forums, at the World Forum in June, one speaker from another cited climate change and environmental sustainability. After somebody cited climate change as the key justification for these changes, he also said that wealth taxes, expansion of government programs comparable to the Green New Deal. This is crazy stuff.
Yeah.
Then they say this, the Great Reset is a welcome recognition that this human tragedy must be a wake-up call. He's talking about the
COVID-19,
the pandemic
yeah.
that they think has killed, half the world.
It hasn't even reached a bad year of the flu.
And as we record here in the studio, it's on the way down, but cases are on the way up, and we're panicking again.
Yeah, but the cases are going up because of the great number of testing.
Yeah, and most
That
of them
has
have
nothing to do with
no
sickness.
symptoms at all.
No,
They're not
no.
sick. They shouldn't even be getting a test, for goodness sakes. I was told that if you've had the flu shot in the last 10 years, you'll test positive.
Yes, you're going to, 9 times out of 10, it'll show up.
So you go get a test, and you find out you test positive, so you go home for 14 days, and you ain't even sick. You don't have anything.
But the testing is testing for antibodies. And antibodies is a result of you developing an immune system. And that's the whole purpose. Your body's designed to build that immune system with antibodies so you won't get sick.
What has happened to
It's worked. Everybody's scared. You see everybody driving down the road with their mask on. Nobody in the car but them.
Yeah.
Mercy, mercy.
And it's just come out. Now this is what, July 7th or 8th today, as we're recording this. It just came out yesterday, I think. They've now determined that if you, what do they call it when you test positive but you have
Asymptomatic.
They said that now they've determined that you can't pass it on if you're...
No, you can't even pass it on.
See, they've lied to us.
We've known that all along if you knew anything about science.
Yeah.
Yeah, no.
And now a report just come out backing up what I said 3 months ago. The hydrochloroquine is actually proved to would save lives, many lives.
And there are, not only that, but it's already been demonstrated that by using a nebulizer and a certain kind of a steroid, that within 24 hours of using it, of breathing it, the symptoms are almost gone away, and within 3 days it's a total cure, 100%.
But because President Trump came out for that, the whole media went berserk and talked it down.
But hey, it's all about the elites making more money, and they could care less about everybody else.
The Great Reset is a welcome recognition that this human tragedy must be a wake-up call. Now, that's from the UN Secretary General. We must build more equal, inclusive, and sustainable economies and societies that are more resilient in the face of pandemics, climate change, and many other global changes that we face. A couple other things here, and then we've got another article that I want to share with the audience. And if that weren't enough, Al Gore, the king of climate alarmism, recently had this to say about the Great Reset. He said, "So I think it is time for a great reset," Gore said. "We've got to fix a lot of these problems," and I want to say we got to fix a lot of these problems that he's created. See, Donald Trump's been in here for 3 years, and he's been blamed for the sins of 40 or 50 years of liberalism. We've got to fix a lot of these problems, and we've been that have been allowed to fester for far too long. And the climate crisis is an opportunity to create tens of millions of new jobs.
Well, what about all the ice caps that's supposed to melt it, and we're all supposed to wash away by now?
Yeah.
Well.
It was classic when he was on that ship headed to Antarctica, and he got stuck in the ice. Yeah. I mean, it was just, one of the moments you said, there is a God.
Yeah, and he has some humor.
Yeah. If these quotes don't terrify you, they should. Here we have some of the world's most influential people calling for the destruction of capitalism. All while American cities are burning, statues of our founding fathers are being torn down, and the world economy struggles to recover from its worst collapse in a century. Yeah. And we haven't seen the end of this yet,
No,
Doc.
sir.
The financial problems that could still be on the way.
It's not going to let up until the election.
Yeah.
No, it's not going to let up.
And then let me close with this, and then we'll go to the next article. We're still in the earliest phase of the Great Reset. Now, they talk
They've
like...
got it phased out. I wonder how many phases.
Yeah.
They've got it planned out.
I mean, these people are not elected people. These people think that they get a right to rule the world somehow.
Well, most of them are ruling their countries fiat through somebody that they've got in political power.
He says the full plan won't be rolled out until January 2021. Isn't that when the next president takes office?
They've got a plan. So
do you think they're planning on Donald Trump not being the president?
No, they were planning on him not being it the first time, and
well, Doc, if that wasn't enough, a week later another article comes out, kind of on the same lines of this. Let me read this article. This is from July 1st, 2020. This is a lady named Tatina Kaufman. I think she writes for a financial paper here. She says this, on June 30th, this is recent now. Yeah. This is just a few weeks after this globalist meeting. On June 30th, 2020, the Senate Banking Committee, this would be headed up by Republicans because we had the Senate. So the Republican Senate Banking Committee held a hearing on the future of the digital dollar.
Oh, yes.
Now, as if we haven't gone far enough in this globalism thing, now even our Congress is talking about a digital globalist system.
Sure.
The pressures to create a digital U.S. dollar are mounting because China recently began testing its own digital currency. They call it the DCEP, which will be included in popular applications. So because China is working on this global digital currency, America has decided we got to get into this thing. Because right now the dollar leads the world. China's been trying to overtake the dollar, but they haven't been able to.
They've been plotting for a long time.
I think this is a back
They'd probably
door.
already be there if our president hadn't done what he did in the last couple of years with this.
So I think this is a back door to, since they can't get in at the physical dollar.
Yep.
They're going to try to hit the digital system and try to overcome the dollar that way.
They're going to try to be ahead of the. Yep.
So our guys in the Senate are talking about this digital thing. Now let me share this, and I think the viewers will find this interesting. In December, Libra released a new roadmap proposing several digital flat currencies, deriving their values from the U.S. dollar, British pound, Swiss franc, and others, thus creating an efficiency layer on top of the current financial system. Users would be able to access these digital currencies through a wallet. See, this is just like cryptocurrency and the digital wallets. That's what they're talking about here. And they'll do this on their smartphone, potentially. Now listen to this. Distribution issues of the $1,200 stimulus checks. Remember those?
Yeah.
Now many of you out there, you got a whole bunch of money. Some of you got because you got your husband and your wife each got $1,200. You got so much for each kid. Them digital currencies, the stimulus check that everybody got. Listen to what they say here. It is no secret that many are still waiting for their stimulus checks. And it's been months. While $1.4 billion in stimulus was sent to people who are dead. Do you see what they're doing here?
Wow.
They're using that as an excuse to move off of the dollar or physical money that you hold in your hand and move to a digital system because they believe somehow the digital system would somehow, and my timer keeps messing up on me here.
Well,
there we go.
Hey, they've used the pandemic to go along with that, so you don't pass something along with paper. So use electronics.
So paper money you can pass on the disease or the
even though that's not true. That's what they tell you it does.
And the fact that it was tougher to get money to people, they had to send it in the mail. They did. This digital system will solve that problem. That's what they're saying here. So they're using the COVID-19 as a catalyst for all these things to bring us into this one world thing. I've got quotes here in this article. Senator Tom Cotton, Republican, Arkansas, stated, "The U.S. needs a digital dollar," he said. By the way, we already kind of have a digital dollar.
We already are.
I mean, when you use your bank card or your credit card or a PayPal card, it's digital money.
I've been to a lot of countries in the world in the ministry. I can take my bank card number, my bank card. I can go to any ATM anywhere in the world. It takes my money out of my bank account, makes the transition between my economy and that economy, and gives me their money.
Right.
We've already got a system.
I sell on eBay. I've sold guitars to Moscow and Russia.
Yeah.
You know, that guy in Moscow, he doesn't get up from his desk and go down to the bank and exchanges rubles for dollars. He presses the same button I press. He buys it, and he clicks pay now, puts his password in, and it's done.
Yep.
It automatically, in the system, converts his Russian rubles into dollars.
There's already a system. It'll just be fine-tuned.
And it's connected globally.
And once it's fine-tuned, it'll be underneath the control of fewer and fewer until one individual basically has all control through artificial intelligence.
So what are they really talking about? I think what they're talking about here is doing away with these dollars I have in my pocket. This paper money here.
They're doing away
I think what they're saying is let's get rid of this and exchange it for a digital computerized system.
Hey, that'll keep a lot of the black market from being able to operate. They're going to have all kinds of good reasons to give for it, but it's really so they can have ultimate control.
Now, Senator Tom Cotton had this to say: the U.S. needs a digital dollar. He says the U.S. dollar has been earning that place in the global payment system. It has to be better than Bitcoin. Now, Bitcoin is cryptocurrency, in case you're wondering. It has to be better than the digital yuan. That's the China digital thing that they're working on. We got several others here, other quotes here I could give you, but this is amazing. You tie this story in with the globalist thing we spent half the show talking about. It's all happening, isn't it?
It's happening right now. We are this close to the beginning of the tribulation days.
And they seem to be pushing for January 21.
Again, I think that's tied to our presidency, of course, because our president right now is the only thing holding all of this back right now.
Have you ever, I know you're about 10 years older than me, have you ever seen a year like 2020 in your lifetime?
No, sir. No.
I don't know about you. We're not date setters here, and I don't know when the Lord's coming, but I tell you, I got a sneaking feeling that it's this fall.
It'd be all right with me.
And everything is ready.
Everything is ready. It doesn't matter what road of prophecy you walk down, Dan. Every road of prophecy is converging together at this time like never before in history. We're there with Israel in its position where it is, with what's taking place with the Middle East conflicts, what's taking place with Iran, and now all of this on a global scale, tying that also in with the religions of the world that are amalgamating into a false Christianity.
Yeah.
Hey, we're there.
Well, folks, let me tell you something. The Lord's coming back.
Yes.
And He's coming back soon. Are you ready to meet Him? Have you been born again? Have you trusted Jesus Christ as your Savior? If you hadn't, you better get on your knees and you better put your faith in Jesus.
Yes.
If you need any help with that, you contact us. We'd love to help you. But until then, keep your eyes on the skies.
The Father spoke, the demons died. How could you have been so blind? There's no time to change your mind. The sun has